My younger brother got lucky and he escaped medicine, but I was the elder one, so I was tuned from childhood that I have to become a doctor. The problem happened that once I was started post graduation, suddenly I had a change of heart. So how am I going to survive and what am I going to do, if I'm not going to enjoy the job I'm doing? So it was at that time when I was really getting into a depression just after my gold medal. India's first IVF baby happened to be born in KEM hospital.
What was your moment of joy at that moment when you did so much of hard work, when no one was believing in that?
When I started in Bangalore, my first 1 year went only in making the clinic. Second year we got only 8 patients. After that we had 3-4 more. Then I came back to Mumbai. So that is how it started, and then I had a loan for 8 years, but I repaid in 4 years.
What is your USP?
Yeah, 80 to 90% are failed IVFs right now from all over the world. So that is my current crowd, which I really enjoy because it's more challenging. Every young doctor has to remember that IVF is an evolving field. Every 3 years, a lot of big changes happen in IVF. So the only way to stay ahead of others is that you have to keep reading, pick up what you feel from your basic knowledge, and keep improving your success rates.
So we would want to hear about your journey in your IVF when you started till the date today we are interacting. So we would want you to explain us from the point of view of a person who started after post graduation. Immediately you went into IVF.
Correct.
How did you choose this path of your career, and what were the challenges?
Actually, if you ask me, it's I think maybe destiny or a quirk of fate that I didn't choose IVF or rather IVF chose me, because the whole story is really, I don't know, you'll have to hear it to know how it happened. So I was born into a gynec family. My dad was a gynec and he had a maternity hospital, and I was the elder son. My younger brother got lucky and he escaped medicine, but I was the elder one, so I was tuned from childhood that I have to become a doctor. So by the time I was in 8th standard, it was understood that I have to become a gynec. So then I got into Jain College and St. GS Medical College, KM Hospital, and did my graduation, post-graduation there in MD Gynec. The problem happened that once I was started post-graduation, suddenly I had a change of heart, or I became spiritual or religious or something, and I felt that I maybe wouldn't be able to do MTPs, abortions, and I was getting scared of the sight of blood. So all these PPHs were giving me nightmares. So I got all the gold medals, but then I said, now study working in KM is different and private practice is going to be very different. So how am I going to survive and what am I going to do, if I'm not going to enjoy the job I'm doing? So it was at that time when I was really getting into a depression just after my gold medal that India's first IVF baby happened to be born in KEM hospital at the same time. Dr. Indira Hinduja and Anand Kumar, we know that story, right? So because I was a topper, I got into her post. I got my first posting as a houseman into her unit. And then suddenly IVF became everything, and you won't believe in those days. And right now, I don't think Gynec has a TVS OPD in KM, but she had a TVS OPD, and because of that fame of the first IVF baby, we had patients rolling in with suitcases from all over India. On a daily basis, 40 to 50 new infertile couples walking into KM just because of that IVF thing. So that is how I got into IVF. Then I finished my post graduation, and then Dr. Indira Hinduja and Anand Kumar wanted to start a clinic in Bangalore. So they selected me and they asked me whether I would be interested. So I did 9 months in IRR as a senior fellow, and that is where I learned all the basics of embryology. A lot of people ask me that how do you know so much of embryology? How do you know how to maintain the lab? How do you know how to repair an incubator? So this is where I learned all the hardcore basic science.
So at that point in time, I what we perceived is people had lot of stigma against IVF.
Yeah.
And I feel that the people who first thought of doing an IVF, there was nobody who had done it before. And in India, the cultures are different. Somebody had done it outside, one baby, one pregnancy was done here, but still for you to counsel your patients, what were your career defining moments when you started treating your patients, you started doing your IVF? What were the career defining moments you feel in
So that's a
IVF
very
journey?
valid question, because at that time, a lot of patients thought that IVF is unreal.
Yes.
Even internationally, IVF was facing a lot of ostracism religiously, ethically from a lot of groups. This is unnatural, this is playing God, how can you do this, how can you create life in the laboratory? Then even my seniors, my senior lecturers, registrars in KM, Jatin, this has no future whatsoever, this is a hopeless technology, nobody
Yes.
gets pregnant and it's just a waste of time and you'll ruin your career. So all this I went through, but I was ready to do it because I didn't want to do routine obs and gynec. So I said, even if it's a challenge, even if nobody gets pregnant, I'm going to struggle. And we were young. When you're doing post graduation, you're very young, you're full of josh, and you really want to do something
When
new
you're young, I think
and
you
different.
listen to your gut.
Yeah. So
You
at that time, I
really,
said, no, this is what I'm going to do. And everyone told me, don't do this. And you will burn your fingers and you will have to again come back to obstetric gynec. I said, we'll see. So finally, it really worked out well. Of course, there was a lot of struggle in those days because IVF in those days was what you can't even imagine, today. That we didn't have anything. We didn't have even plasticware. We didn't have ready-made culture media. We didn't have most of the things that we enjoy today in our
so
daily
we
practice.
would really want to know how did you make your medias and how much laborsome work it was to actually incubate those embryos outside in vitro.
Yeah. So basically, when I returned to Mumbai after the Bangalore stint of 3 years, and then we decided I started doing obs gynec because we thought we didn't have the funding for IVF, and I was again wondering what to do with my life. And then after 7 8 months, my brother, who is a businessman, he said at least let's get quotations and find out what it costs. So in those days, the total cost was 50 lakhs, which is like 50 crores of today. And out of those 50 lakhs, ICSI was not there in those days. There was no
Yes,
ICSI, right, at
yes.
that time in the world. So half the cost, 25 30 lakhs, was only to buy equipment to prepare culture media. So we had one whole room with milli RO water
Milky
system,
water.
milli Q water system, analytical balance, pH meter, osmometer, and one more thing. So we had these 6 items which we had to purchase just to prepare culture media. Then there was only Princess Street where we used to go and buy Ham's F10 powder. We used to get that, prepare the media with all these elaborate things. Then we didn't have plasticware, so we used to get glassware. We had to chromicize glassware, new glassware. Then we had to wash it twice in autoclaved water, then hot air oven twice, then autoclave twice, and then use it. And the
So,
main thing was that we needed a protein source. So
yes.
Hams F10 with all this, we would make the culture media. Now where to get the protein? So I would go to Wadia Hospital or KM Hospital and stand outside the maternity rooms waiting for cord blood. So we used to wait for cord blood just to collect the umbilical cord blood, then bring it back, then extract the albumin, inactivate it, I think at 57 degrees for 10 minutes, 15 minutes if I remember correctly, then add it to the media and then check the final osmolarity. And if the final osmolarity, this whole thing would take 6 to 8 hours only in that room to make media. And if the osmolarity or pH went off, we had to discard that and start the whole exercise again. So
Oh
these were
God.
the kind, but this is the best thing which happened is that I got so much basic knowledge about all these things. Today, if a new age clinician sees media in the lab, you can't make out seeing the medium that what is the pH. I can, right?
Yes.
I can just from the pink color, the orange color, I can make out, no, this is not properly equilibrated. Again, put it back in the incubator, or check the CO2 of the incubator. So all this
True.
troubleshooting comes reflexly because
So,
of those days.
something when I'm hearing to you, I'm feeling that getting a degree is easy. But after you actually get the qualification and to talk to a patient, that years of experience which you have worked and
Yeah.
you've done your media, and now you have moved into where the ready-made medias are available. We are still in the back date, and I would still want to know something about how the patients used to feel, like when you would have got a miraculous baby.
Yeah.
What was your moment of joy, that moment when you did so much of hard work, when
Yeah.
no one was believing in that? And the way you're telling it is difficult. It must be very difficult to create those exact culture conditions to do an IVF.
Yeah, so imagine today when we have consistent success rates, okay, with self cycles, let's say we are at 40%, Europe is at 30%, we have younger patients. In those days, it was just 2 to 3%. Like when I started in Bangalore, my first 1 year went only in making the clinic. Second year, we got only 8 patients, 8 or 9 patients. And then in the third year, I think the 16th or 17th patient was our first pregnancy. Okay, after that we had 3 4 more. Then I came back to Mumbai. Mumbai first whole year I got only 9 patients. So imagine the amount of time I must have had to spend with each patient. Each patient was like, you strike gold. So
True.
I used to spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours just talking to them, telling them that okay, it's a new technique, it's experimental. We don't even know success or not, whether we'll get eggs, what are embryos, we have no clue. So it was really difficult to convince all of them. Then the ninth patient at the end of the first year was the one who got, just when I was about to, feel that all my seniors were right and this is not going to work. And I made a big mistake and now I have to repay these huge loans to the banks. That is when we had our first pregnancy. So she was a patient from Jabalpur, and she had come and she was a teacher, and then she got a beta HCG positive and we were all jumping and dancing with joy. And after a week she called because she was staying in a hotel. that the entire bed sheet is soaked with blood and I have lost it. And she started crying, broke down. So I said, that's it, that's the end of it. And then we called her after 2-3 days for a scan and we saw the fetal cardiac activity. And oh my God. So that was, a point which I can never forget in my life. After that, of course, things started getting better. Then ready-made media came within 5 or 6 years of my starting. Medical from Denmark was the first one. And then things became easier. Then all the plastic wares came, the pipettes came, the test tubes came, the dishes, cleaning dishes, everything started to be available easily.
Still the technology is got established, but IVF is not a perfect science,
Yeah.
as we see. So now you are seeing the change in the structure, but when you started, like in India, I think India is the country where maximum batch IVFs have been
Yes.
done. So would you tell something about your experience? Or
Yeah,
you, I
so-
think, started the batch IVF
Yeah.
concept in India.
Yeah, I was amongst the first to start it, and it was like a corporate chain of today when none of the corporate chains actually existed. Only thing is, I didn't ask for any stakes or any stocks or any share.
That
So
was
that was probably a big mistake that I made retrospectively. So basically, it started with a clinic in Cochin, Vijaya Fertility Clinic and IVF Center, and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, she knew me from my Bangalore days. She had just heard me give one lecture, and she was somehow impressed that this young boy knows something. So they kept telling me, you come to Cochin and you do batches. 10 patients will gather for you. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. You won't believe, I was catching a flight from somewhere and they stopped the flight. And then I got off the staircase and I said, what happened? Jatin Shah was called from the flight down, back to the runway. And he said, no, DGP Kerala wants to meet you. So I said, what is this? So her husband was DGP of Kerala. So he said, Dr. Saab, you have to help my wife anyhow. Kerala needs an IVF center. We don't have any IVF here. All patients can't come to Mumbai. You please do something. And then I said, okay, we'll do it. And then we arranged the first batch and I thought, now how will anyone get pregnant? I was carrying culture medium from Mumbai in my, that coolant bag and everything. And we went and did 10 patients. And the bad luck, there was no ICSI in those days. There was no embryologist. So how it used to work is I will do a pickup. Then I'll rush to the lab. All the tubes were put in the heating blocks. Then I will go there and do screening, pick up the eggs, transfer them to the incubator. Then come back, do the second pickup and so on. And after every 3 pickups, we'll keep a gap. So I will go and process all the 3 semen samples, inseminate the dishes and come back. It was just conventional IVF. Next morning, next afternoon, the second day afternoon, after I had done the denuding and seen the zygotes and put them into fresh medium, we had only one incubator and the incubator stopped functioning.
Oh.
So that was the first batch of my life. An incubator, the CO2 went from 5% to 2.5% and the injector just stopped working. And
That's
the
a heart
temperature also, first batch, first time in the world. And we didn't, and see, when there is a batch, all the patients know how many patients were done. So all will know. If you've told them 40% and if 4 don't get pregnant, you are going to be asked questions, right? Then I called the incubator guy in London, the engineer. And you won't believe, 6 hours from midnight till 6 in the morning, he told me, now you open the back, now look at this wire, look at that wire, do this, do that. Like a James Bond movie, how they cut, कि ये bomb ऐसा करो, वो करो. So 6 hours I was doing all that and we managed to start the incubator. So I said, now this batch nobody will get pregnant, right? And we did the transfers and I came back. Luckily we had 4 cell embryos on day 2. I did all day 2 transfers and came back. And we had 5 pregnancies. So that's why when people tell me, so much hype the companies create sometimes, about this should be like this should be there like this. Sometimes there are other forces at work and we really don't know what really causes the pregnancy. So these are a lot of lessons which we have to learn, from the batches. Then of course I started doing Agra, then I had Madurai, Road, Chennai, Bangladesh, Pune. So all these places I used to go every 2 months. And Agra was the heaviest, Dr. Malhotra's clinic. So Friday I would reach on Thursday, 25 pickups on Thursday, 25 pickups on Friday.
Oh.
25 ETs on Saturday, 25 ETs Sunday morning, and there was no flight to Mumbai. So I had to drive to Delhi, catch the flight, and reach Mumbai by night.
But that is how you have actually, even though you said you didn't take the stakes in the financial aspect, but you made India on the mark for all the states to come into IVF.
Yeah, so we had the first IVF pregnancy of Kerala, first of UP, first ICSI of UP. All this were done when I was visiting these 2 clinics.
That's great.
So that's how it all started, and of course it made me nationally popular, so it did contribute. But my main motive for going was to repay my loans, because Mumbai I was struggling, 2-3 patients a month. It was not enough to repay such a huge loan, and it gives you sleepless nights, when you are in debt. So that is something I just didn't want. So that is how it started, and then of course within 3, I had a loan for 8 years, but I repaid in 4 years everything, thanks to all these batches.
So
So that
now
is how it works.
today people are trying to start IVF centers. Now we see every gully has one IVF
Yeah,
center.
true.
Uh, what is your opinion? Is there a good scope of work for the IVF centers to establish progress ahead, or it's like too many IVF centers nowadays?
No, I think we still don't have enough for the country. If you see the population, we don't have enough IVF centers. Like in Sweden, every second child is a IVF baby. Here it is still every 30th or 40th child is an IVF baby, right? And we have infertility increasing. Metropolitans, it's already reaching 40-50% when the female partner crosses 30. So we know that infertility is increasing. And I, for one, I was the eighth clinic in Mumbai, and I was the youngest of all these established big names. And everybody used to ask me, how will you survive this? And I never really worried. In fact, I used to say, after me, whichever clinic opened, I used to feel the more centers which come, our work will increase. And everybody used to laugh. But it actually became a fact
True.
because they are creating so much more awareness, they are getting so many more patients. Only 40% will conceive. Where will the 60% go? They will again find new clinics. So that is how the whole cycle keeps on going. So I don't think we have too many clinics. Maybe some areas might have too many, like we have in Mumbai, in Ghatkopar we have I think 5 or 6 in just one lane probably. So there are some areas where there is a lot of saturation. In fact, Delhi, recently I was driving back from Agra to Delhi airport, and there is one lane there where there are 8 IVF centers just across each other. So but I think all of them do reasonably well. So finally, I think we still need lots more clinics, but we need good clinics.
Yes. So now there is a lot of concept about people are having chains of, like,
Yeah,
almost 60% patients are going for fertility chains, like,
correct.
and there are still individual clinics. So what are the, like, pros and cons? What are the benefits of having chain IVF, and what is the practice going to affect because of
No,
these?
so it basically depends on what is your motive. If your motive is business, then a chain is good for you. If your motive is to be a doctor, to talk to patients, to love to counsel, and to enjoy every pregnancy as a daily miracle, means even after 35 years, I'm not saturated with pregnancies. Even today, if a beta HCG comes positive, it's the same excitement as I had 35 years
Yes,
ago.
yes,
Now, if you enjoy all this, then you will not like to work in a chain, right?
correct.
So it's your mindset whether you just want to remain as a doctor and be compassionate and talk to patients all day long and get satisfaction, or you want to run a chain and be still successful, that yes, okay, I'm doing so many cycles and so many clinics. But then it's all depends on that. So for me, chain is out, totally out. I've had a lot of offers. I was the first to get an offer 15 years ago when nobody knew about this concept of private equity and running chains of clinics, but somehow I just didn't want to lose connect with patients. Very, very clear about it.
So, when we are talking about doing this chain IVF, or what is your USP? Like, what is your practice majorly based on? More of failure cases, more of
Yeah, 80
technically
to
difficult
90% are failed
cases?
IVFs right now from all over the world, thankfully. So we have almost a 40% crowd which is international, mostly from US, UK, Canada, Dubai, Singapore. These are the usual countries. Indian patients, a few white patients in between, we get Caucasian also, a lot of African patients, but most of them are failed IVFs. So that is my current crowd, which I really enjoy because it's more challenging, and still we maintain our 40%. So obviously we are doing
True,
something better.
true.
And the main thing is, that over the years this changed. So in 35 years, initially, of course, it was all so-called easy cases, but today we see more and more difficult cases.
Yes.
Then now with the ART laws, now egg donation is difficult, surrogacy is difficult. So you have to find new innovative ways of doing self eggs and self cycles with poor endometrium. So
Yes, we hear
a
a
lot of
lot
things.
of like, I would want to ask you how many hours every day you read, and how many times, like, you analyze every patient's protocol.
Yeah.
Because from you, most of our clinicians will agree, you come up with very innovative protocols which are clinically very impactful.
Yeah.
The take home from your protocols is more. People will follow that protocol more,
Yeah.
whatever you teach. How do you derive that?
No, so that is a very valid question because most of the new clinics, the young generation, straight away want to pick up add-ons.
Yes.
Like first they want PGT, AI, this, that, everything. But I really want to tell them that first focus on the basics. If your basic endocrinology is not good, your basic understanding of the egg and sperm is not good, basic knowledge of embryology is not good, that what is really going to be a valuable add-on for that patient, you will just keep listening to company hype, some sponsored lectures, and pick up all kinds of add-ons, adding cost to the patient and not really having a benefit. If you ask me, in 35 years, which were the only three greatest advances that we've had, one was IVF, second was ICSI, third was vitrification.
Yes.
Everything else has still to prove itself. So if somebody tells me, okay, this is very good, I'll say first you prove that my 40% will become 45%. I'm not saying 70%. You give me even 5% increase, I will pick it up.
Yes.
Where is that evidence?
So when vitrification came, would you elaborate the scenarios of maybe this is a clinical, but every doctor or a patient would want to know that till vitrification became established. How was like your perception about OHSS, and are you still doing all freeze cycles, or you're still doing some freeze and some fresh
No, no, we are
cycles?
too individualized now. You won't believe the amount of individualization we have. So we don't have every patient is treated individually. So there is no standard protocol for anyone. There will be a detailed study of the previous cycles and everything will change. If it was short antag and if she is not a high responder, it will become a long agonist. If she was REC FSH, I'll make it HMG. If she was FET, which is most likely HRT FET, I will make it.
Yes.
I might do even fresh transfer.
All
If
of
it was
that.
blastosis, I might do cleavage stage. If she's failed HRT, FET unexplained with very good embryos, I'll do natural cycle or
Natural
modified
cycle.
natural cycle. So
Yes.
everything is different.
Yes.
Now, natural cycle we started about 6 months ago, and the first 8 patients, 6 got pregnant, and all had 2 failures with HRT FET.
Correct.
So both me and Dharam are convinced now that this is maybe one of the best treatments for RIF. A lot of these patients we
Yes.
label as RIF. It is actually the embryo doesn't like that HRT prepared
True.
endometrium
True.
and prefers a fresh endometrium with all the functioning corpus luteum giving so much of activation factors. So
Yes.
this is the kind of individualization you need, especially in a tertiary level clinic which deals with failures.
Correct. So these messages which you are giving, every clinician really looks up to hearing from you, because when they are doing suppose something monotonously, like sometimes people are freezing all the embryos and just doing a frozen embryo transfer. So when you talk, it has always been a very stimulating to all of our
I'm a big
minds.
advocate of fresh transfer. Last 2 years, so many fresh transfers are doing in agonist cycles. In antagonist, I'm not very happy with the endometrial receptivity, but agonist, fantastic. It's back to what we used to do in our batches. Na? What were our batch work?
Yes. Yes.
It was all long agonist, all fresh transfers,
Yes.
all day 2 transfers,
True.
and still it was successful.
True. Now, when we are talking about all these scientific discoveries, miracles, how have you adapted in terms of change in the markets in IVF? And what do you feel another 10 years will see for IVF, individual practitioners and chains?
I think main thing is they have to focus on pregnancy rates rather than think about how to increase business, because every newcomer should think of making a nice minor niche rather than just developing a mega practice overnight. It doesn't work that way. So
True.
slow and steady is definitely better. I think market keeps shifting that. Okay, initially I was like the new clinics of today. I was getting patients who were first cycle patients, and now I get only patients who have failed IVF. So that market keeps changing. Then sometimes things come with pros and cons. Like initially we used to have a lot of economically not so well off patients, say 30
True.
years ago. Now we don't see them because they are picked up by, I think, by the nearby clinics or the chains or whoever it is.
You have treated a lot of Bollywood celebrities.
Yeah.
While treating, what extra precautions in terms of privacy we understand,
Yeah.
but making a person understand the feel, or anything which you would want to share with us about when you're treating very individual, very well-known people, or their private matters, how you handle them.
No, so it's basically like any other patient because we respect confidentiality even of normal non-celebrity patients. Everybody that though we know it's
It's
a
ethics.
very important rule that we have to follow. So we generally treat them the same way. Initially, maybe 10, 15 years ago when the first celebrity started coming, they wanted a lot of privacy. So I used to come at 5 o'clock in the morning. Nobody should see them. They used to sneak in and out of the clinic, wear the bandanas, sunglasses, everything. The new generation is very cool. They walk in peak crowd at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They are okay with everybody noticing them, recognizing them. They take selfies with them. they do all kinds of things. So
That's
times have changed
nice.
for them also and for us also. As patients go, they are absolutely the same as any other patient. In fact, I don't think all this is hype that they won't pay and they are troublemakers and they are arrogant. Nothing like that. I have not had any such experience. I think I've treated more than 100 of them now. So I actually keep a list. So and I don't think anybody has troubled us like that.
So how do you manage your day? Every day you do so much of IVF work,
Yeah.
you do photography, you read a lot.
Yeah.
So we would want to know how a day of Dr. Jatin Shah goes.
So I
What
think
time you get
reading
up?
is very important, and a lot of this young generation. Every time I give a lecture, even if it's some same person in the audience, has heard me this weekend and hears the same lecture next weekend, there will be a lot of new slides, right? So that is one of the key things that every young doctor has to remember, that IVF is a evolving field. Reproductive medicine is the most dynamic field in the world. It changes almost every month or every 2 months. Like I was a big advocate of freeze-all for all 10 years ago. And today here I am talking so much about fresh transfers, right?
True.
Then we all said HRT, FET, now I'm saying natural cycle. So the field keeps changing. It's not that I am changing my mind, but every 3 years, a lot of big changes happen in IVF. So if you don't read and you don't keep in touch, you will be obsolete. So the only way to stay ahead of others is that you have to keep reading, pick up what you feel from your basic knowledge that this will help, this will not help, and keep improving your success rates. Like 15 years we did an internal audit, our self cycle success rate was 40 to 45% without a change for last 15 years, despite the patient crowd changing. So it might be an improvement indirectly, that okay, there are more failures and still to maintain 40 is not bad. Then we checked European 2023 and it's only 30%. So I said, okay, we are doing well, younger patients. Only last year, I don't know for what reason, somehow we averaged 48 to 50 every month for the entire year. So now me and the whole team is just racking our brains because we don't know what we did different. We've not really made any major changes except this natural cycle transfers and a little bit of this.
You got more hands and more brains to work at your clinic.
Maybe yes. Plus,
Would you
I
want to
think
talk about your team, your son and your daughter, how they have come up in the field and they're taking things ahead?
no. So it makes a difference. Of course, son joined me 5 years ago as soon as COVID happened, and he's a master counselor. Not because I'm his dad, but that's because patients say that. And he really spends a lot of time. Means what I used to do 30 years ago, spending half an hour, 1 hour. Now somehow at this age I don't have that much patience, so I spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's it.
No, with
And
your
then,
experience, your 5 minutes is worth that 1 hour.
yeah, so I just make the plan, make the protocol, make all I want to change for her, and then Dharam takes over and does all the main counseling and their daily contact, and he's answering WhatsApp till midnight. I think it just goes on and on and on on the phone. And my daughter has of course been the chief embryologist for 15 years now. So that's also a very important component. So I always tell all the new clinicians that don't have distrust with your embryologist. And they say, it's your daughter, so obviously you'll say that. It's not that. If you really groom someone very well from the beginning, you have to trust that person. So the embryologist should be your partner and not an employee in the clinic. So that's very important for all clinicians to realize, because then only you'll have a very good bonding, because most modern day clinicians don't look at embryos. So they are totally dependent on the embryologist for whatever information they get.
True. And this is the most important message I think you gave to everybody who is listening, because we have observed that there is a lot of blame which happens between the clinician and embryologist, especially in the corporate chains, that the work is not good, and finally the patient can suffer in this situation. Yes. So that's a very important point you told, sir.
Yeah, because see, if the embryologist tells you, okay, embryos are very good, so you then don't know why it failed.
And you become reassured.
Yeah, but if you know for sure, if he's saying not good is not good, and if he's saying good means good, then at least you know what to counsel the patient in case the cycle fails. True. So that communication is vital to success.
Okay. And again, how is your day? We would still want to know.
A day before COVID was very good in the sense it was 7 to 7, and I used to be at the clinic at 7 o'clock in the morning, and except for a 1 hour lunch break, it used to go until 7 in the evening, because I was alone at that time. And then after COVID, of course, Dharam joined, so now I work 8 to 3. So generally there's a morning walk, some gym, then I go to the clinic, then I do all the procedures. Till today I do myself, because patients expect that I will do the procedures. They ask me when they come that we have come because we have heard that you do everything yourself. So I said okay. So every scan I will do, every follicle study I do, every pickup, every transfer, every embryo loading and transfer. These are my jobs. All the talking part is left to Dharam, and all the embryology Hima does. So that is how we manage. Then usually by 3 o'clock I finish all the new OPD. Once or twice a week we keep evening OPD if there are some patients who want evening timings. But otherwise generally evenings are free to have a little bit of work-life balance.
That's
because
good,
for
and you deserve it.
30 years I have really given everything. You can imagine Monday to Thursday, Friday was this, then go to Cochin, Madurai, Erode, Agra, Chennai, Friday, Saturday, Sunday working, and then Monday morning back to work, So except for a 1 week vacation in a year, life was just work.
So I have a few questions which I think everybody would want to listen. Did you not think of opening branches?
No, it never came to my mind. Actually, even now, I have so many offers that start a clinic in Bandra, start a clinic in BKC, start a branch in Pune, Nasik. But I know why my patients come to me. They want me. So even if I start a chain of say 6 top, premier clinics in Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, the Delhi patient will not go to the Delhi branch but will fly to Mumbai to see me.
true.
So, there is one kind of practice which is doctor centric, there is one kind of practice which is brand centric or clinic centric. So, now it depends on which one it is. For me, I don't think branches will work.
Okay, that's a very clear thought you
Very,
have.
very clear, because the first private equity meeting I had was 17, 18 years ago, when none of these chains were in existence. And it was an international group, and they came and told me, let's start a chain. And I said, no, I can't do it. And then after that, of course, I had lots of offers. Even recently, I have again had two major offers. But me and the whole family is very clear that we don't want to get into it.
That's great. And apart from being such a successful clinician, spreading so much knowledge, you excel in one more skill, that is photography. So when did you start your photography, or it was there from beginning, like
No,
childhood?
so it was in KM only. So we had Dr. Jayesh Mehta was one of my classmates. He now runs one of the best multiple myeloma institutes in Washington or Chicago, I think. So he was my friend, and we had a group of 5. So he was a wildlife photographer in those days as an MBBS student. So he somehow got all 4 of us interested, and then we joined this class, in Mumbai called Photographic Society of India. 5 of us joined, and then of course we got our whatever diplomas and this that. In those days it was very expensive. We didn't have digital, so everything was film, right? And a film cost 100 rupees, and developing and printing was 150 rupees. So 250 in those days was like 20,000 today, right? So it was very expensive hobby. So then after the PG got over, somewhere I dropped it. Then after 10-15 years, I started rejuvenating it, which is about 10 years, 15 years ago. And then I did a lot of tutorials on YouTube, but I had the basic knowledge. See, basic knowledge in any field is very important. Otherwise, you can't just pick up things. And then I just got into it, and then I became a professional landscape photographer. And I have exhibitions now, and I print calendars and books, and all that is going on. But it's a good relaxing hobby, because art and science always go hand in hand. So it's important to be a little bit of an artist besides just being a scientist. It's
You have
important.
always created your own path, and I think as an individual, you're always here to what exactly defines you, and very few individuals are able to pick up that in themselves and follow that passion and pursue. So, what is your message to people, like people who are doing now, they're post graduating, and there is a now quote that if you don't want to take up very hectic surgical work, go into IVF,
Yeah.
because maybe what challenges you had that back in time, now people don't have those challenges, they have everything ready made, but they don't, the beginners sometimes might not have the experience weightage to their practice, which makes them understand what exactly they are dealing with in
Yeah.
terms of fertility. So what is your message, because we are dealing with giving joy to people, and now they expect the result. IVF people expect the result now.
Yeah.
Pehle they were more prepared for failures, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So, what is your message to the youngsters who are starting their IVF centers?
No, so main thing is, of course, as I told you, you have to keep studying. Studying never gets over in reproductive medicine. You have to be attending conferences, lectures, online webinars. You have to observe, you have to question, you have to assess what is right, what is wrong, what protocols are giving you good results. Don't just follow the neighboring IVF center. Every lab has its own bugs. Every culture media, has its own preferences. So you have to actually fine tune and find out that what is suiting you the best. And I am not in favor of aggressive marketing, frankly, because I have been a guy who's been slow and steady, kind of thing. So I still like to tell youngsters that don't get into all this, too much of marketing and whatever things people are doing nowadays. So it's very important that it's better that you focus on your pregnancy rates rather than counting that how many patients came in and how many converted to IVF. Nowadays that's a new thing.
That's a target based work, I think.
Target based work, and what do they call it? How many conversions or something like that. Yeah, so all this is like Greek and Latin to me. That we don't like to solicit patients. So I have never done that in my life. I have never kept a track that, oh, so and so came for consulting, did she start the IVF? So all these concepts are not known to us. But generally, Dharam, being a youngster, he just did that experiment, and he said, dad, there were 126 consultings and 116 cycles we did. So only 10 didn't start. So I said, okay. For him, it's a very important thing to do all this.
Yes, but to get a newer perspective into the practice is always good.
Yeah.
Any other aspects of your life which you feel really shaped you as a human being, like your parents or your family, anything which inspires you even today?
Yeah, main was, of course, parents are always number one. So from childhood, like my mom said, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a doctor. She was the one responsible for so many skills that I had. Like, I probably didn't tell you, but I can play 3 musical instruments. Then I used to do oil on canvas paintings.
Oh.
5 of my paintings won a competition Indo-Russian when I was in 8th standard. So then professional typing she made me learn. When all other kids were busy enjoying their vacations, I was going to all these classes. Then photography came. Like, I don't look at a keyboard. A lot of people tell me, how do you type so fast? If you look at my slides, you'll see there's never any spelling mistake. So all these skills were because of that training. So it's good to have an all-round upbringing at that time, and do a lot of extracurricular activities, because you don't know what you're going to be really good at. So that is very important in life, to have all these things at the right time. But yeah, that's how it is.
So what we would want to know further is, you are into IVF field, we all are practicing. So what message you would give so that how the world should see IVF doctors and what they should understand when your IVF doctor is treating them?
Yeah. No, it's a very valid question. So it's very important for the patient to know that even the IVF doctor goes through a very turbulent time, right?
Yes.
Because as I told you earlier, IVF is not an exact science. We can't beat the 30-40% mark of getting success with self eggs, or maybe 60% with egg donation. So patient has to understand the importance of doing multiple cycles. So generally we counsel the patient that you have to do 3 to 5 cycles to do a complete course of IVF. And a good clinic would be one which will not do the same thing again and again, but make dynamic changes to the protocol with every cycle. And that there is a lot of turbulence even for the clinic, the clinician, the entire team. So it's not just some money making machine, but actually it's a lot of science. It's a lot of hard work which goes into every IVF cycle to finally make that miracle happen, right? So the patient has to be with the doctor, because if after every cycle they are going to drop out and keep changing clinics, they are unlikely to achieve
Yes, yes,
success.
yes.
So it's very important that they do all the research in the beginning, find the correct clinic, and then stay with that clinic for the entire 3 to 5 cycles till they get their best outcome.
Yes.
So that is very important, that continuity. They have to understand the whole maths of the thing. That if someone is telling you 30-40%, that means it's not like a knee joint replacement that 100% knee will be replaced.
True.
Right? There's only a 30%, 3 in 10 or 4 in 10 chance that you will get a baby. That doesn't mean the clinic is bad. It doesn't mean your IVF doctor is bad. But that is what the science is all over the world as of now. So 3 to 40% has taken 35 years. So I'm sure 40 to 80% will take another half a century by the time we reach there. Because we hear all this talk about AI taking over us and all, but I think IVF is one field where AI cannot take over. There is lots more to it. Okay, maybe AI will tell us this is the right day to trigger, or maybe AI will say, okay, this is the right sperm, which we anyways know most of the time, or that AI will tell us this is the best embryo, which we can anyway see most of the time, right? So it's not going to be as hyped as the industry is making out to be.
True. And AI
So
cannot understand the emotional condition of a
correct.
patient going for
Because
the
patient
treatment.
counseling is the key to success and avoiding dropouts. Which is a successful clinic today, which has the lowest dropout rate. So, we always feel that a patient didn't come back, because the same evening when she gets a negative result, if you don't call her in the next morning for counseling, there is a 50-50 chance she'll never come back to you, because that is the time she needs you the most. So we have this policy that we immediately, if negative, please come tomorrow. If she's really broken down, then we tell the husband, okay, after 2-3 days, as soon as she settles emotionally, you please bring her in. So I used to have a policy of, we had put a notice outside that if there is failure, please come and visit after a week. Because I thought it takes 1 week for the emotions to settle, but then Dharam somehow he feels that no, the sooner you call them, the better they are in a frame of mind to get counseled and start fresh, and keep the josh up. So all these counseling is very very important. So most of the dropouts I have seen are because of lack of communication. That when the patient really needs the doctor is not available, nor are the assistants available, or the assistants keep changing, or every time they come there is a different face to deal with. So then that's not good for the patient.
Yes, and emotionally a lot goes. As you were saying, I understood, if it is a cesarean or a normal delivery or even a knee replacement, as you
Outcome is
said,
guaranteed.
and you're completing the work in half hour to
Yeah.
maybe at least 2 hours, and this will be done. But IVF is a ongoing
Yeah, we
process.
tell them 6 months to 1 year journey. We tell them on the first day that it's going to be a 1 year journey.
Yes. And that experience and that sense of fellowship always belongs with us. And no matter where we all be or whatever we do, I think this one bond of IVF and being in the field connects us all so much.
Yes,
I'm
correct.
so honored and thankful for your all insights and uncensored, unfiltered talk from your heart, and that always connects us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you, Neelam.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
to Garima also for putting together
Thank you so
this
much.
show. And thanks to ISAR. Thank you so much.
I've always had this idea that I would want to get on social media platforms, even since college days. I just didn't know how to.
Were you called out by your peers or your seniors about some content?
So, one thing that I've always done is that every time you go on social media and you say something, you make sure there's evidence to back it up.
Have you noticed any posts which will be like, I will never do that? Or is it okay for the doctors also to follow the trending now videos as a platform to educate people?
I mean, do it, because most of the times it sort of acts as an icebreaker. Because now they think कि हम जानते हैं doctor को. I want to separate myself and my hospital, which I feel a lot of us in the medical field do not do.